So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a full face makeup tutorial for beginners. So grab a seat, relax and enjoy this video. So firstly, you want to clean up the face in order to remove dirt and oil on the face. The next is to hydrate the skin. So after hydrating the skin, the next thing you want to dry it up into the skin before moving on to the next process. After that, I'm going to be moisturizing her face with my Cetaphil moisturizer. Apply it generously all over the face. Whether you have oily or dry skin, always make sure you moisturize the skin before makeup application. So after moisturizing the face, you need to allow it to absorb into the skin before moving on to primer. For primer, I'm going to be using this Kiss Beauty primer on the face. So when you prime your skin, it gives the rest of your makeup a very good base to sit on. So after that, I'm going to be drying it up before moving on to the next process. So next, I'm going to be using this Gentle Dove mattifying primer and apply it only on the oily areas on her face, which is the T-zone area. So this mattifying primer is going to help to prevent oil from coming out. So if you want your makeup to last, especially if you have oily skin, it's very necessary to apply mattifying primer. After that, I'm going to be locking it up with my Kiss Beauty spray. Then I dry it up a little before moving on to foundation. So next, I'm going to be using my L'Oreal foundation in the shade C7. I'm just using my flat brush to apply it all over the face. After that, I'm going to be setting the face, spraying the face for easy blending. Then I went ahead using my damp beauty sponge to blend the foundation into the skin. So after blending in the foundation, I'm going to be locking it up with my Kiss Beauty spray. This would help the foundation not to move or go anywhere. After that, I let it dry before moving on to contour. For contour, I'm going to be using this Newborn Beauty concealer in the shade 047. So whenever you want to contour the face, it's best to use a shade that is 2 to 3 shades darker than the skin to contour the face. So after blending, the next thing I'm going to be applying my cream blush. I'm just going to use this Blush on Lip palette and apply this orange shade above her cheekbone and a little bit on the tip of her nose. Then I went ahead using my beauty sponge to blend. So you can skip this part if you don't want to apply cream blush. You can only do with your powdery blush, but I usually like to do the both. But if you cannot do this both, you can do just one, which is the powdery blush. So I'm just gonna blend it properly into the skin. So there's this beautiful effect cream blush gives that I really like. That's why I love to do the both. So after blending in the blush, I'm going to be highlighting the face with this Avo concealer in the shade A20. So I'm applying the concealer on the places I want the face to be highlighted, which is the inner corner, the outer corner, the forehead, the bridge of her nose, her chin. After which I blended it using my beauty sponge. So while blending, do not be too hard on the skin. Take it gently and blend the concealer properly into the skin. So while blending the areas underneath the eyes, your eyes has to be up in order for you to, blend it properly to avoid creasing. So make sure you take your time to blend and also make sure everything blends into the skin. So next is to set, but I really like the inner corner of the face to be a little highlighted than the outer corner. That is why I had to apply this Milani concealer in the shade 145 on the inner corner of her face. After that, I'm going to be contouring the nose with the same shade I used to contour the face. So next, I'm going to be blending the concealer. If you look very well, you notice that the inner corner of the face is a little highlighted than the outer corner. So after that, I'm going to be blending the contour to avoid harsh lines. So after that, I'm going to be setting the concealer with my setting powder from Mira Cosmetics in the shade Cinnamon. But before setting, I went back using my beauty sponge to blend the areas underneath the eyes to avoid creasing. After blending, I went ahead to set. I'm using my beauty sponge to take the setting powder. So after taking it, I'm going to be blowing it out so that it will not be too much. So while setting, do not pack too much setting powder. Take it one step at a time and make sure you set properly before moving on to the next process. So there are people who set the concealer with their pressed powder before setting with their setting powder. Trust me, you can do the both. It depends on what works for you. I prefer to use setting powder, so do what works for you. If you prefer to use pressed powder before your setting powder, it's perfect, and if you prefer to use setting powder, it's also perfect. So after setting the concealer, I'm going to be setting the rest of her face with my Bicham powder palette. So I'm just going to take this shade here to set the rest of the face. So while setting the rest of the face, so make sure you use a shade that is her exact skin color to set the rest of the face. Do not use a shade lighter or darker. Make sure it's her skin color, her perfect skin color. So after setting the rest of the face, I'm going to be setting the contour, the cream contour I applied. I'm going to be using this shade here from the same powder palette to set the cream contour. So while setting the contour, you also need a shade that is 2 to 3 shades darker than the skin to set. So after that, I'm going to be using the same shade I used to set the cream contour to contour her nose. So after that, I went back using my powder brush to blend everything together. So for the places I highlighted, I'm going to be adding this light shade. I'm going to be applying this light shade on the places I highlighted. After that, I'm going to be setting the face. This would help the product to sit properly into the skin and also reduce the powder effect. Then after which I dried it up before the next process. So after drying it, I'm going to be baking with the same powder, with the same setting powder I used to set her face to bake her face. So I forgot to moisturize the lip while I was doing the skin prep, so I had to do it now. So I used my Zarom hydrating lip balm on her lip. Then I went ahead to use my spoolie brush to brush her brows. After that, I used my brow tamer to lay the brows nicely. So next is to outline her brows. I'm going to be using my Carrot gel liner, the brown shade, and my angled brush to draw her brows, following the shape of her brows. So after that, I'm going to be using my spoolie brush to brush the brows again before highlighting. I'm going to be highlighting the brows with my concealer I used to highlight the face, which is Avoc concealer in the shade A20. So I'm using my angled brush to highlight the brows. So after highlighting the brows, I'm going to be blending it with my blending brush. You need to blend it so that it will look smooth and well blended. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the foundation I used on her face and apply it on the inner corner of her lid, so it doesn't look too bright. After that, I'm going to be highlighting the top of her brows with the same foundation I used on her face to highlight the top of her brows. If you use the same concealer you use underneath the brows, the top of her brows will look very light. If you're not able to blend it, it will look dirty in the eye. So it's best to use the foundation color on your face to highlight the top of her brows. With that, you won't be able to see any line or any color that is not good. So next, I'm going to be setting the concealer with this shade from my Bicham powder palette to set the concealer. So after that, next is to apply eyeshadow. But before you apply eyeshadow, you need to prime the lid. So I'm using my Viange eyeshadow base to prime the lid. This will help the eyeshadow to pop and last. So after applying the eyeshadow, next thing is to blend it on her lid so that whenever you put your eyeshadow, it would look neat in the eyes. So before applying my eyeshadow, I went ahead applying setting powder on the areas underneath the eye in order to avoid fallout from the eyes. So moving on to eyeshadow, I'm going to be using this shade from my Kylie eyeshadow palette and apply it on the outer corner of the lid, then gently blend it towards the inner corner of her lid. So after that, I'm going to be using this dark brown eyeshadow from the same eyeshadow palette and apply it on the outer corner, then gently blending it towards the inner corner of her lid. After that, I used another brush to blend out the eyeshadow to avoid any demarcation. Then I added a little bit of this powder color here to give it some colors. Then I went back using that brush I used in applying the dark brown eyeshadow. I went back using it to blend. So next, I used that brush I used in applying the eyeshadow base. I used it to blend the inner corner of her lid. So after that, I'm going to be applying this shade here from my Blossom eyeshadow palette and apply it on the inner corner of her lid. So after that, I'm going to be applying this orange pigment from my MK Cosmetics. I'm just going to apply it on the inner corner. So after that, I'm going to be adding this MK pigment. This is another shade. This is like a golden shade. I'm just going to add it on the lid so that it would pop very well. Then I went back using that brush I used in applying that dark brown eyeshadow. I went back using it to blend to avoid any demarcation. So after that, I'm going to be applying some setting powder on the outer corner of her lid to define the lid. So next, I'm going to be lining her upper and lower lash line with my Carrot gel liner and my angled brush. Then next, I'm going to be using my Zero mascara to prep her natural lashes and also give it volume. So after that, I used the same contour brush I used to contour the face. I went back using that brush to blend the areas I contoured. Then next, I'm going to be using this V Beauty blush palette. Like, this is the first time I'm trying this blush. I hope it comes out nice. So I'm just gonna apply it above her cheekbone and a little bit on the tip of her nose. So this is a powdery blush. If you really do not want to do the cream blush and this other one, is can leave the cream blush and just do this. It's great, trust me, it's going to come out well. So after applying it, I'm going to blend it out. I feel like the blush is looking too much. So next, I'm going to be wearing her these lashes from Chi Lashes. So moving on to the lip, I'm going to be using my Blossom lip palette. I'm just going to take this brown shade here to outline her lip. So after that, I'm going to be applying this shade here from the same powder palette. I'm just going to apply it to brighten up the lip. So after that, I used my brush to blend. So next, I'm going to be adding this nude lip stain in the middle just to brighten up her lip. After that, I'm going to be glossing her lip. So I went back using that blush brush I used to apply the blush. I went back using it to blend properly because I want the blush to be well blended. Then after that, I used this powder to reduce the blush because I feel like it's too much. So after that, I'm going to be dusting off the excess powder on the areas underneath the eyes. Then I went back touching the nose again. So after that, I'm going to be using my powder brush to blend everything together. So next is to prep her lower lashes. I'm going to be using my Zaron mascara to prep her lower lashes. So I went back using my spoolie brush to brush her brows again. After that, I'm going to be setting the face with my Kiss Beauty spray. After setting it, I'm going to let it dry properly into the skin. So after drying, I'm going to be putting some highlighter on her face. This would help the face to glow. So next, I'm going to be applying a little bit of this Miss Metty cheek glaze. I'm just going to apply it on the places I highlighted. Like this would help the face to glow. So this is optional. If you don't have it, you can go ahead to set your face and you're good to go. But if you have it and you want this extra glow on your face, you can get it. It just helps the face to glow. So after applying it, I'm going to be setting the face with my Kiss Beauty spray. Then I let it dry properly into the skin. Then after that, I'm going to be sealing it up with my So Pro Seal It spray. This also helps the makeup to last. And guys, after sealing it up, I'm going to let it sit into the skin. And this is the finished look, guys. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.